All right, I definitely go. The road not be crude oil. I didn't know. Pussycat not be tiger leaf. But the most vital of those messages work, work, work. The one of a big boy. That's very emphatic. Yes, sir, you're welcome once again, Daybreak Show Citizens Forum this morning. We're going by way of labor related issues for a very long time now. It remains unending. Crisis, disagreement between the different governments at all the levels and the different trade union across the country is not peculiar to any particular tier or state of government. And of course, from the academic staff union to the medical workers and other related medical union, National Association of Resident Doctors, here and there, the teachers, even pensioners, unfortunately, they no longer have powers. I'm sure they will also have declared strike notice to government. Well, how do we ensure that all this end? But like the Yorubas will say, Anje Kurukoton, it remains not really going off when you hear the cries of increment in salaries and wages, whereas at the other side, employers and government are crying of paucity of fund, crying of recession, hard industrial and economic time. Yet, workers, labor wants more money as their take home. As we speak, labor disputes in Bayelsa, even between the doctors, NARD, that's the National Association of Resident Doctors, and the federal government, in addition to other areas, is on. And one tool government has really refused to use but have continuously threatened to bring it down is the no work, no pay rule of the government. I don't know where that is really in the labor law, but for sure this morning we'll try and get how that came about. So we have somebody with us, himself a labor leader, labor activist, former Trade Union Congress chairman here in Ogun State, and today is a consultant to the state government on labor matters. Let's welcome Mr. Seyi Adebanjo to the studio. Good morning.
Good morning, listeners.
Good morning. Okay, before then, even the Bayelsa state government will begin the no work, no pay policy today. And then this is to guide against the abuse of rights and privileges by the state workforce. It also said that henceforth absenteeism would attract summary dismissal. And the secretary to the state government, Chief Serena Dukubo Speak, also stated this at the end of Governor Seyi Adebanjo's interactive session with the members of State Executive Council that a government house statement was quoted as saying that the government could no longer condone the acts of indiscipline on the part of workers. And he said the governor had directed that attendance registers should be opened in all the ministries, departments, and agencies of government, adding that any worker who did not come to work for a day or two would face summary dismissal. And the malady of the absenteeism in the state civil service must also stop. There are attendance registers to be monitored in all the MDAs, and the people assigned to monitor the registers are also going to be monitored likewise. And then implementation of the new civil service reform was aimed at checking the age-long fraudulent and sharp practices in the state civil service, including the overbloated wage bill and age falsification. And according to him, the payment of even over 5 billion naira monthly wage bill by the state and local government areas can no longer be sustained, lamenting the numerous developmental challenges confronting the state. And so, in order to reduce the overbloated wage that the state is being confronted with, all hands must be on deck.
All right, all hands been on deck. Mr. Adebanjo,
Yes.
let's start. You have a rich experience in labor matters, retired from public service. It appears unending, like I said, dispute between workers in all the sectors. Before we go to the punitive aspect of what government wants to do about it, first, how do we ensure that there is peace in that sector between government or employers and labor and employees?
It depends on both the government and the workers. And I say that there are occasions when the laws, there's a law guiding every aspect of labor. How you enter the work, how you get promoted, how you do this, how you do that, how you even opt out of the place. All these things, if those things were adhered to 100%, right, there will be less problem in
Alcohol.
that. Yes, but in some cases, sometimes the government does not, carry out its own agreement, its own side of the agreement. And one thing that is in labor is that it is flexible. Despite all the ILO convention, the what do you call it, trade union decree, amendment, parliament, and all those things that are there, it is flexible in such a way that both sides are allowed for dialogue and consensus. So that once you all sit down and agree on a course, even that is totally different from from the law, as long the two parties agree, well, go on, go on some, as we say in the slang here. So that is why I say, in most cases, it depends on the two parties. Sometimes the workers might say, okay, what you are giving us is not enough, and therefore agitation continues. Sometimes there's an agreement and the government fails to, honor that agreement. This sort of thing always creates a lot of, conflict in the labor force.
Okay, can you shed more light on the principle of the no work, no pay policy?
That one is also allowed. You see, um, labor law says that, well, there are, as I said, there are guidelines for everything that you want to do in labor. In an interactive section with the president of the National Industrial Court, had almost about 9 or 10 years ago, which was held at the old Western House of Assembly in Ibadan. Most of we labor leaders in the southwest here were called there. And the president, I think Justice Adejomo, if I could still remember, said that if you refuse to follow the procedure in carrying out all labor-related issues, well, they will start whatever decision the court is going to take. It will start from that sector. That okay, you fail to give. For instance, you want to go on strike. A strike does not just begin in one day. There will be times when you give maybe 42 days notice, another 21 days notice, another 14 days notice, and then 7 days notice. All these notices were given so that giving room for settlement. If after all these things, this you know, there was no agreement whatsoever, then the labor has no other means other than to go on strike. And usually, I will tell you one thing: most laborers don't like strike, because I will tell you why. You are always afraid that there are some bad elements that are in the society. They are always looking for way to either take on the government one way or the other. So if you start a strike, and you don't monitor it very well, it could be hijacked, and then before you know it, there will be a lot of confusion in the polity. So based on this, strike action is taken as the last resort when every other thing has failed. So that is why I said every action that you take, even the number of letters you write, all these things will be taken into consideration. So that's why I'm saying that everything you do in the labor law has a procedure. There is no way you can just take a decision on your own. There's a procedure, laid down procedure. If after you have failed, you have fulfilled all those procedure, and yet there's still, conflict, then that is where we come in there. The Federal Minister of Labor can intervene before it goes If after that, that one fails, then you can go to arbitration panel. If that one fails, you go to the NIC. And by law, it says that the judgment of the National Industrial Court is final. It is binding on the employers and the employee. So you see the stages the thing has taken before it gets, to that level.
Mr. Adebanjo, it appears those who prepared the ground for this declaration of trade dispute between employees have actually taken enough time to ensure that we avoid strike action. Because if you look at what you said, from the first 42-day notice to the last 7 days, if you add all those data, we're looking at about 4 months
Yes.
in between before a strike action can be declared from the beginning of the issues. And if you look at the plus and minuses, the days, because it's not immediately after the expiration of 42 days that you declare another.
Yes.
So that gives you about 5 months opportunity to declare, and yet it fails. In these instances, if we have it, should the two parties, not just uh, uh, disagree to agree on the issue rather than continue to talk?
That's why I'm saying, that's why I said earlier that the labor law is flexible. Despite the ILO convention, the what do you call the trade union decree and all those things, it gives allowance for dialogue and consensus. Even in our election into unions, before you go to an election, you say, okay, oh, you are going to have this, you are going to have this. You just go there on the appointed day, and then you follow the agreement you have reached. In a situation like that, you hardly find a situation where the other party goes to court or things like that. The same thing with government. You sit down, say, okay, gentlemen, this is our position. Labour also will look at it from different angles. Don't forget that the pressure mounted on the labor leaders is not small. In fact, once the delay is becoming too much, they say, oh, you have sold out, you are a traitor, you are a sellout. All these things will come into your way. And some of us, and many of us who have conscience, begin to be afraid. So because of this, labor can be harsh or very hard in the government sometimes. Like that. It was the push, or what can I say, the pressure mounted by the workers on the labor leaders that's actually driving them to such a point. But under any circumstances, the best part is to avoid confrontation, conflict, and what have you.
Okay, sir, to you, is strike a lasting solution to the feud between the federal government and labor leaders?
You mean?
I said, is strike, going on strike, taking strike actions, is it a lasting solution to the feud between the federal government and labor leaders?
No, I said that strike action generally is the last resort for, I mean, in labor matters. You have been talking either even. Let me tell you this: some government will not even answer you when you write so many letters and things like that. They will not answer you. You go to some of the government offices, they say, he was not in. You will be blocked not to see. So usually when that issue of strike comes in, either a threat or a warning or something like that, the government usually come round to accept you. I hope you are following me what I'm saying. So this is the reason why I say strike action is about the last resort to. You can't go and stop the government from carrying out the function. But then if the government refuses to, give you the necessary things that you need, wages, leave bonus, and all those things, and you have keep on requesting for this thing for a very long time, then you don't have any option. You hold your work, I hold my what do you call it? You hold your money, I hold my job. Period.
Okay, still on the no work, no pay policy, sir.
Yes.
Why is the federal government finding it difficult to enforce this law? They just use it as a threat. Why is it difficult for them to enforce it into law?
You see, there's one thing in the federal something that I've observed several times. It seems the federal government does not even know the number of workers in the state. That's the first thing. You see, whereas if you go to a company, get to the personnel manager, how many people are on payroll? He will just tell you in the management they have this, in the what do you call it, they have this, in the what do you call it, the lowest part of
Different
the
hierarchy.
aha. This is it. They give you the number straight away. You cannot go to any government, federal government ministry and ask how many staff do you have here. Try it. If you think I'm trying to be exaggerated, just try it. You will just find that hey, that one. I mean, you'll be surprised. I've done this several times and I was surprised. And even overall, you find that the other time that I think the Federal Minister of Finance was saying that they were saving almost about 30 something billion from ghost workers. I said, 30 something billion ghost workers? How did it happen? I know there could be some, I know it could happen, quite alright, but that is staggering, that is a staggering amount of money. That then something must be wrong somewhere. Because you must know the number of personnel, you must know the number of workers you have. Under the circumstances, you must know. Because if you don't know, how do you arrive at the salary you pay at the end of every month? So it's a very, 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 serious matter, especially in the federal something.
Who then is to blame?
Oh, of course. The owner of the work now, the government now.
Now, Mr. Adebanjo, you have said strike action comes as the last resort.
Yes.
But I want to find out from you, if we must go by the way of strike at all. For instance, as we have it, the two unions now are asking for what some people termed as bogus, outrageous figure as the new minimum wage. And the reality on ground, which everybody knows, is that there are serious economic problem, paucity of funds across all governments. If government refuses to yield to this figure or even negotiate as they expected, can somebody now opt for a strike action on this issue?
You see, my answer has already been given. Labour Act, whether ILO Convention or Trade Union Act, gives rooms for dialogue and consensus. Okay, good. We are in a recession. All right. Now, what you do, for instance, is an ILO convention that says that every five years there must be a minimum wage. Okay, and that's the last one we had was 2011. Okay, so by the end of 2015, that one has become outdated. So you're not talking of 2016. Even 2016 has already passed. Now, what's going to happen is that what is wrong? Instead of government just keeping quiet, why don't you dialogue with the labor leaders? Come on, gentlemen.
Comrade, that's the problem. Like this common saying, oh, what you see, that when I know, the two of us knows very well that there's no way I can get that money. So where will I start my dialogue from? Why will I discuss at all? When I place on you, there's no money. I cannot even add a penny to it. We all know. So why don't we suspend that demand till we can also see that things have improved?
Oh, very good. You see, this is an establishment. There's an agreement that every month I will be paid my salary, and somewhere along the line, there was a trouble. Either the bank has refused to honor our check, one way or the other, there was a problem. Now, what do? You call an in-house meeting. Don't worry, yes, we all know. We all know there's recession. But then, this is the situation. The workers are already pushing the worker. They're already pushing the leader. Even when you get the salary, let me tell you one thing which I know with salary increase. The first salary you take, that's the only one you enjoy. By the time you go to the market, by the second time, the second time you go to the market, everything has escalated. So you're almost back at the same one. I give you the panacea for that later. You see, the ground is that these people have said they wanted 1,000%. Fine. We want 1,000,000%. Fine. Very good. Now, gentlemen, come. We are all Nigerian citizens. As at now, we are talking now. We could not afford what we are talking. Now, you give a specific something. Okay, all right, gentlemen, can you give us, hold on for another 1 year or 2? We will come back. We agree with you that it is high time we had an increase. All right, very good. When you say that, at least they are assured that you have already recognized that there is need to have a salary increase. Okay, now how do you go? Time frame, looking for the money and things like that. Don't forget, the workers are also going to generate the money one way or the other. You see, if you don't give incentive, it doesn't give an impetus, you see, for you to work more. But when you call, it's like a husband and wife. Look, madam, this month, I won't be able to give a food shop money. This and this and this that has happened in the something. Yeah, somebody might have stolen something in the office that is so expensive and you are also charged. Okay? So look, about 35% of my salary will be taken out this month. So please, can you bear with me? Are you following me?
Yes.
Very good. Easily, the woman will oblige no matter what happens. It's the same thing with workers and God. Instead of just keep, but if you ignore the woman, you ignore the woman without talking to him, without talking to her rather, and look, oh, this is the situation, oh, this is the situation I'm in, oh, please oh, help me, oh, and things like that. What do you be expecting that the money you used to give to her, and even more. This is the situation. So that I'm saying, look, instead of just keeping quiet, call them. They are Nigerians like you. Look, I've seen in a situation like this, all right, if after everything the labor may ask, I'm not saying that is what's going to happen, please. All right, what do you do for us in the interim between now and the time that we hope that the economy must pick up? Okay, now they say, the government might say, okay, can we give you hardship bonus? Are you getting what I'm saying? I'm not saying this is what is supposed to happen. I'm just giving you, painting a scenario. Say, okay, so that we can take something to our members. You see, workers don't want to hear any other thing than their salary increase. As a labor man, most of the time, I find that the time I enjoy most is when I got something from government to take to my members. Okay, don't worry. By this time next month, you will get your leave bonus. By this time, so, you will get, and if it works that way, oh, you are you're almost a mini god. You see, this is how the thing works. So what I'm saying, the effect is that instead of just keeping quiet, call them, discuss with them, show them. I mean, which listen, they are enlightened people. Luckily, the labor has an institute. I'm talking from experience. I've been to what do you call it, Michael Imodu, this of New York Studies. I've been there for almost 8 times. Then Administration College of Nigeria, Badagry. I've been there almost 6 or 7 times for this labor relationship. So definitely you can see that people can reason. You see, if the government, the workers come to you and they will, are we not going to get this minimum wage this year? I know. You must say something. You must say something. You can't. The government has not said anything. Well, so you have kept. They have settled you, Abby. That's why you have kept quiet. This is what is something.
Okay. In other words, what you are saying is that your ability to discuss, negotiate is very key.
Very,
peace.
Very.
In the labor circle. If this is so, then what is therefore wrong, or will anything be wrong if after all said and done, some people still go on strike, and at the end of the day, I decide to come out with the principle that she just said of no work, no pay?
Well, as I said, just like us in the labor front, we said strike is a last action. Well, government, as a last option, in fact, I suffered this thing in 1971. I was working as the Kano Citizen Trading Company, the first textile mill in Nigeria. So working there. So over Adebo issue, something like that. The government said, look, the company said, look, most of the products that were produced have not been sold. Where will they get the money to pay this thing? We said no, we walk out of the something. Then after another 2 meetings, we just refused totally to listen to them. And the Oyibo man who was the general manager called us to the meeting. He said, look, there will be 2 things will happen. One, there will be retrenchment. 2, what do you call me? No work, no pay. He put it across to us like that. Now, you see, unfortunately,
So that means this no work, no pay thing has been on for
as
some
I've been
time. It's not a
on,
new thing.
it's not a new thing. It's not a new thing at all. You see, it depends. As I said, people resort to such things as a last resort. Just as we in labor will go on strike as a last resort, the government say, okay, if you after all my entreaties to you, you have refused to listen, well, this is what is going to happen. Oh, one, there will be reduction in the workforce. There will be no work, no pay, but the rest of you who remain, they issue that. Don't forget that the owner of the work has the ACs. We must know that. The owner of the work has the ACs. They can even declare bankruptcy. Say, well, government, I could not pay. And look at the papers and everything. There's nothing you can do about it. So, but in order not to get to that extreme cases, that's why labor law is flexible. As I said, despite all the conventions, all the trade amendment law, all this thing, there's room for dialogue, there's room for consensus.
Mr. Adebanjo, I still want to find out from you. Yes, you've explained it, you've expanded it, it is flexible, and negotiation is very key. However, at what point, on what situation should employer come out or use the no work, no pay policy?
That's why I'm saying that if the government has a genuine case and believes that, well, this is what he is capable of doing as of this moment. You see, there are so many things you talk in dialogue. Look, I agree. I will pay this money when I have it. I will pay this money in so time. I don't have money to pay it at all. I think you are following those 3 statements on like that. So in between those things, you can look the one that is advantageous to 2 sides and then pick it. It's after every entreaties has failed. Then you say, well, gentlemen, this is what's likely to happen. If you refuse totally, as I told you, what happened at Kano State Training Company in 1971 was that, yes, we have produced so many bales of goods, but the sales were not coming in. We produce uniform for the military, prisons, custom, and all those things. Unfortunately, maybe somebody uses let's say big leg, imported those things for the people. Those people used to be the customer for the company. So maybe somebody used connection or whatever have you, and then he imported this on. No, so we could not sell. So under any circumstances, it's by selling what you have produced that we can have money. But when we refuse totally, he said, well, this is what's going to happen. The company will maintain the skeletal staff it can, pay as of now. The rest of you will go on compulsory, they use a language I could not remember now, whether compulsory rest or compulsory something. They just use that something down. And we know that once that one is put there, you are giving them a free hand to do whatever, do anything for you. So, unfortunately, most of us were divided among tribal land. The other people, no. They will not say, okay, most of us from the south, we agreed that, okay, let us reason with the manager. They said, no. So, eventually, we went to strike. So, what happened? Almost 2/3 of us were laid off. So, that's why I'm saying, just as we have the last resort to go on strike, if every other thing fails, the government has so many aces.
Now, if this last resort and then it fails, the no work, no pay order is implemented or not implemented scenario now, can any of the 2 parties, the employer and the employee, challenge this at the NIC?
Of course. In fact, before it gets to that level, both of you, or either party or both of you, can invite the what do you call it, Nigerian Labour Minister of Labour to intervene in the matter. You see, now if they intervene and you cannot, they cannot solve it, they send it to the national, what do you call it, the other one before the NIC. There's another
the arbitration.
arbitration. They send it to arbitration panel. If after that one again it cannot be solved, it now goes to the NIC. And I quote the law for you there, quoted the law for you there. The judgment of the National Industrial Court is final. It is binding on the employers and the employees.
All right, Comrade Adebanjo, you talked about the pressure labor leaders get from its members, how enormous it is, and sometimes it pushes you into what, even as a leader, you don't want to. Let us also look at the political pressure that we have that is common nowadays. How real is it, and how do leaders manage this? Pressure of political influence, the big-legged politicians we talked about, and government.
You see, in human endeavor, you can't use any permanent style to handle any situation. There are sometimes some people play politics. Some labor leader play politics. For instance, in Nondo, they played politics, brought the government of Mimiko to government. When I was discussing with a colleague of mine, he said, look, it was when we played that thing that I became a permanent secretary. Then I couldn't say anything again. That the government gave us a lot of on Labor Day, they prepared very well for us. He mentioned so many what do you call it? So many lages and things like that, can make people comfortable. That I couldn't just have anything to say against it. And some people play it and fail. So the very best thing is to maintain your ground. Because if you play politics, for instance, if there's an election now and you go in and the man you go for, it does not win the election, it can, bounce on you again. And if the man wins the election, well, fine, all well and fine. But the very best thing is to try to play the neutral game so that you can always have a way to maneuver. Because if you play it so much and politicians have no mercy when it comes to this idea of election. If they know that you actually play a role to make them lose the election, they become so harsh on you that you regret the day you went to such thing. So I always advise my colleague, the local, try to be neutral in this matter. The better for you. But as I said, some people do it and it favor them. But in most cases, if it backfires, the repercussion is always too much to bear.
Okay, your question.
Is it achievable to have better relationship and peace amongst the government and labor leaders? Okay, you have mentioned negotiations and discussions or dialogue. What other things can the government and even the labor leaders do? Because I'm looking forward to a Nigeria where we'll have an end to strike and other things in the nation, and then we work healthily in our nation, Nigeria, our dear country, Nigeria. Can this be achievable?
It's achievable. I will give you one. There's this one, Mr. Phillips. He's in charge of labor. You call it one technical name, I could not remember now. At the world, it was an IMF official. So in year 2000, we were on strike here in Ogun State, and he came. So met us at the NLC. Now, as we were discussing, I was saying, why is it that it's only in developed country that we always have a salary increase of 110%, 150%? What I always see in the developed country is 7.5%. The maximum you can is 12.5%. He said, well, what they do there is that every year the government will ask their Bureau of Statistics what is likely to be the inflation for year 2018. They will give them then the government will increase the salary of workers by that percentage. So you will find that once you do something like that, no labor leader or labor can come forward and ask for another thing, except in exceptional cases. You know, in human endeavor, you can't get a permanent something. But when he comes, what he will get is so partial, maybe 1.5% or 2%. Are you getting me? So if the government sticks to that idea, as they do, in fact, sometime maybe 2 years ago, the post office in London or in England generally went on strike. I look at it, the best they got was 8%. The best, 8%. And you can see that economy can absorb, you know, things like that. You come now and say, well, I'm increasing salary by 45%. Definitely, that economy will shake. Are you following me? So the very best thing is that if the government can dialogue with labor and say, okay, yes, the convention, ILO convention says every 5 years there be minimum wage. Now we have found out. Do you know that up till now, some states have not implemented the 18,000 naira minimum wage? We are lucky here in Ogun State. The government has continued to pay. So they say, okay, oh, gentlemen, do we go along that line? If you look at until the presently when the inflation raised, has risen to 18 point something percent, it has also between 8.9, 9.6 in the last 4 years before the recession. I think it's much easier for either the federal or state government to increase salary by such a percentage than coming say, all right, minimum wage. Minimum wage is now 35,000. By the time the minimum there is okay for level 1. By the time you do the extension towards level 16, 18, 16 and 17, you will see that the volume of money will have become so much. But it's so easy. That's okay. The inflation this year is 7.70%. Okay, increase the salary of everybody by 7.70%. So you will have no justification in coming say, yes, this day, come. The inflation is 7.7. I've already increased your salary to that. So what are you talking? Are you following? Because I discussed extensively with him. Mr. Phil, I still have his card at home. You see, this is because I have thought over it several times. Having been involved in negotiation for quite some time. After negotiation at the federal, we now come to the state. And it takes a lot of work. It has not been an easy. In fact, that used to be one of the hardest part of our labor something. So I look at it that if we find a way whereby, and then let's keep our agreement. If we agree that we are going to pay so much, let us fulfill that. In most cases, you will find that some governments don't abide by the consensus or the agreement they have reached with workers. Now, if you look at it, ASU was talking about an agreement with the federal government about 3 or 4 years ago. It has not been fulfilled.
2009.
Now, you see what I mean? There's an agreement between the two of you. So, and again, the government has to, do this very well. When they are sending people for negotiation, they should take people who knows about labor laws, who knows about economics and everything along, so that they won't commit, the government is something when they get back home,
Yeah, and they discover that they cannot.
You see what I'm saying? So these are some of the things. And in fact, there's a circular from federal government that said they should now appoint labor people with labor for qualification, industrial relations. They should appoint them in each ministry. There's a law to that effect by the federal government. Most states have not implemented that. But you see, the purpose of that is that the industrial man there will take notice of everything that's going on that's likely to affect wages or welfare of workers. And then they will have been addressing this thing all along, not when it has piled up. It has piled up, to an astronomical level that the government will feel somehow. So this is the thing I feel will give, reduce In woman endeavor say you cannot erase a conflict.
Yeah, okay, you want to ask a question? Okay, okay. All right, we will have to take this break to allow the national news to come up at 10 o'clock. After that, we'll still have Comrade Seyi Adebanjo, former TUC Chairman of the State Consultant to the State Government on labor matters. We'll be asking him, can we have a harmonized labor discussion um, to ensure that we have industrial peace in the country? And then we'll take questions from you. However, keep sending them 32120. That's the SMS number to read on our Twitter handle at 40TFM. Don't go anywhere. Yes, we are back. Citizens Forum Daybreak Show, Rock City 101.9 FM. This morning we are discussing labor strike actions and, of course, threats from government itself on what to do when we have disputes with our employees, and we have with us somebody who's been in it. His experience in what we are looking at. He has been the former chairman of Ogun State Trade Union Congress, and of course today he is a consultant to the present administration on labor matters. I'm talking of Mr. Seyi Adebanjo. Mr. Adebanjo, quickly, because I want to open the telephone lines early, let me ask you this. We are looking for ways to ensure that we have industrial harmony, peace within the employers and the employees, either government or private sector at all. But there's a trend that is going on, and I want you to share your experience with us on what can be done. Rather than have, for instance, ASU go to his employer or government and negotiate on his own, NASU will do the same. CISANU will go. Association of Technological, whatever it is, will go. And sometimes NANS, the students themselves, will go. NUT will do its own. Sometimes we will have federal government teachers negotiating separately. But rather than have all these still remain issues about education, welfare, salary. Why don't you have it centralized and let either the NLC or TUC or one umbrella body, the Joint Negotiating Council as it is, to negotiate on their behalf?
This is a very tricky question. You see, as I said, ambition is there. That is one. Two, the government itself does not obey its own rules. Let us take NMA, for instance. NMA is a professional body. It's not supposed to negotiate salary and condition of service. That is as clear as crystal. It's there in the Labour Act that only trade unions must negotiate condition of service. That is one. Then, when you talk of NUT, the NUT are teachers in the state. The federal government has no teachers. They have education officers. That's why all the teachers in the federal government secondary school, or what do you call it, federal government
Unity schools.
unity school, they are all education officers and not teachers. You see, that definition, determines many things there. So that is that.
So they've tactically shoved them away.
That's just it. So they are not teachers, they are education officers. In fact, many of them do move from the school to the ministry. So that is how that one is operated there. Now the other one, you see that every body has its own condition of service. The condition of service in the university system is different from that of the public service, right?
Yeah, but the ASU, the NASU, SANU works under the same era. Pengason, what's the other one? NUPENG.
Yes.
You see, these people works within the same industry.
Yes, that's why I'm
and
saying.
Yet they will declare different strike actions.
They will always do, because as I said, take ASU. ASU are meant for university teachers. SANU they are meant for senior staff in the university like accountants, engineer, or what have you. NASU, non-academic staff junior, you see, they are meant for the, the lower grade and something. So you can see that the working conditions are totally different. In fact, when is it Professor Fashin or something like that, I cannot remember the exact way, who said, look, once you are a professor in Nigeria here, you are a professor in the United States. So that one, you can't say you are an engineer in Nigeria and you go to Britain and you're an engineer. That's not so. You have to pass through certain things. Those are the arguments they propounded. Quite all right. Now, you find that Pengasin are meant for management in the petroleum industry, hydrologist, engineer, and things like that. Whereas Numpeng are meant for trailer drivers, what have you. You find they are two. You see, they work in the same industry, but with different conditions and different type of job, like that. So, when you look at it, but what you are saying generally, which I want to see, is that why can't we have maybe a central body that will handle this issue? So what will happen is that, let's say, let me use TUC for senior staff. ASU is a senior staff. So what we are saying is that, okay, under TUC, can't ASU operate? Can't what have you operate, and like that. Then for the junior staff also, you have the NLC. As I said, ambition is what is disturbing this thing. Everybody wants to be Secretary General. Everybody wants to be President General. So this is one of the things that is working against it. But I said, one of my discussion with somebody, that this thing is going to evolve when they now find that all these fractious unions will become impotent at a certain level. So they have to come together, just like in the US, where you have AFL and CLO, only just those two. And anything AFL wants to do, it carries the CLO along. Anything the CLO wants to do, it carries the AFL along. So that you cannot break them. And so that's why I say it will evolve. But as we are going on, because the Yoruba will say, this broom, Oshushowo, you see, it's not easy to break than the ordinary stick. So this is just the something.
All right. Yes, at this junction, let's open the telephone lines. Another means of communication for you, our listener, to be a part of it. Let's get your questions. If there are any comments, issues you want to raise with Mr. Seyi Adebanjo, the consultant to the governor of Ogun State on labor matters. He was also a former chairman of the Trade Union Congress here in Ogun State.
The studio lines 0809-868-7344 or 0909-146-9670, and the shortcut dial 32120. Type rock, you leave a space, type your message, include your name, and send it to 32120. And of course, the Twitter handle at Rock City FM. And please, when you call, no attack on any personality. We beg you. Just go straight to your question or your submission, and then allow others to be a part of the program.
So who goes first? Who will go the first caller? Hello, good morning.
Hello,
good morning.
Yes, morning.
Good evening. I'm Kazi from Manchester.
Thank you.
Good morning, my sister. Good morning, the resource person.
Yeah, good morning.
I have a lot of questions to raise this morning. I'll go straight to
let's do it within the 2 minutes.
The role of labor as an essential institution in the pluralistic nature of this country. Two, sir, have you ever imagined that that there was an internal squabbles or something like that within the labor movement in Nigeria, and in Ogun State in particular now, whereby some have been sacked, and then among those that are supposed to, the number of those that are sacked are enjoying their salaries now. That's two. Then, this question, do you think that, how would I put it now, that the assurances of job security that workers normally enjoy are now going into kinds of taking some insults rather, and then adding some injury on the dignity and intellect of our employees or the workers when government will be able to educate people with that. So how do you see, how can you probably see what we can do to that so that you will not continue to be able to, whereas we know a lot of these people that are serving their own interests and even not striking the balance between serving the people for their own family, whatever. Look at the issue of the money released to being given to severance around the politician instead of using it to pay all the money being owed to deduct in terms of deduction and all that. Thank you very much.
All right. Hello.
Hello, Rock City.
Good morning.
Morning, this is Babari. I'm calling from Boston. I guess you have good morning, sir.
Good morning.
The real questions that I want to ask. Now, it is in the Constitution that every 5 years, either pensions should be reviewed by various governments. But ever since, this has not been made, that has not been done. And the labor does not look in that direction to at least go into the trenches with the government to ensure that government keep to that promise of reviewing either pensions or salaries every five years. Except labor will be fighting for increment of salaries of the workers alone. This is just one area that I want you to really address. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hello? Hello?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning. We can hear you.
That's right. My name is Aki Amwati and I'm calling from Abeokuta.
Welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Seyi Adebanjo.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, let me congratulate you at least for taking your appointment.
Thank you very much.
Those issues you are raising when you are chairman of TUC, perhaps you have the opportunity to put it across now. But I happen to know you one-on-one. I still want you to tell us why it has been very difficult for government to take your organization, TUC, as a force to reckon with. And in most cases, when you recommend, they don't follow you. Why has that been that difficult? That's number one. Number two, one of the issues we raised during that period is the issue of overloaded civil service. What are your views about this? And don't you think there must be submission to this effect so that both past and serving governors should be able to account for their actions and inactions in bringing the civil service into the system? And lastly, why is it that, the moment the civil servant retires, that is the end? You people from TUC or whatever, you don't seem to want to know about it, which is very, very unfair. There must be provision for free and food. Those are my questions. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Let's take the last call for this segment, and then we'll move away from the telephone. Hello.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello. Yes.
Hello?
Good
Hello?
morning.
Yes, my name is Comrade Seyi Adebanjo on the line. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. The floor is yours.
Yes, I want to repeat our resource person in the house. Although I joined the discussion beginning, although we have spoken very well. But this discussion is coming at a time whereby national leadership of Nigerian Labour Congress has been organized and personalized, and I want to ascertain from it, seeing special advisor to the governor on labor matters. Which faction does Ogun State government recognize the two factions, at national level? And it's a pity that this discussion is coming at a time whereby the situation of the country, the recession, has rendered the salary of an average worker of Nigeria, both at the federal and the state level, has rendered the salary useless and inconsequential. So please, Labour, I want them to come together as one indivisible family to begin to push for the, welfare package of an average, Nigerian worker. Answer, you are now, with the government now. How do you feel when an average worker is suffering? When an average worker does not have access to the pension and gratuity? How do you feel? Because you were once in the system. So let me stop here so that I can allow others to contribute.
All right, we'll also stop here for the first batch of questions. Let's have your reaction, Mr. Adebanjo.
Yes, thank you very much. Mr. Kayode talk of the role of labor cannot be emphasized. That was a nice one because in the forefront of a movement for independence of Nigeria, the labor actually played a role. You have heard of Power Market Modu, the River Valley of 1945, the first strike, which was they call it Kola. That is I've forgotten the full name now. They call it Kola. They fought for that in 1945, and so on and so on and so forth. So thank you very much. Then the factionalization of leaders. I've already answered that in a straightforward jacket. That well, you cannot write off ambition. Everybody wants to be there. Everybody wants to be numero uno, and it's not possible. There will be only one at a particular time. But you see, you cannot write it off. But as I said, dialogue and consensus is allowed in labor. So if you are able to resolve that through agreement and consensus, I feel the better for every one of us. So internal squabble, well, I don't think it's an external squabble. The government felt some people went against the labor law, and so they were punished. This is what happened. It was not a squabble between the labor. I mean, that's a straightforward something. Now you talk of job security, no more. Yes, this job security you are talking about it has not just started, and it's going to get worse. Why? Because if you look at the developed world, especially Japan, we started what they call automaton. They call it automaton, in which case machines are going to do many works rather than the men now. The Toyota car, which I know you must be in love with, is assembled in 3.5 minutes. The whole Toyota car, and you just see that the tire will just come piam. Something will just come piam. Within 3.5 minutes, the whole thing is already filled up. So this was automation, and has come with the computer coming in now. Many work are going to be phased out. Take the issue of audio architecture. Just get DPC and something now. The computer will just use the type of building that's going to be erected on that. So this thing is going to work on many ethics. Before in the civil service, there used not to be examination before promotion. Now there's examination now. You see? So these are some of the things that are coming in now. That's me. Employer don't want to pay. They want to run away from pension and gratuity. They want to run away from it totally. And that is why they devise so many means, rationalization, downsizing, and what have you. In fact, some industry have what you call outsourcing. They have it now. It's purely not to avoid paying pension and gratuity. So may God help us there. Mr. Babariri, we are talking of salary for yes. This issue is automatic, but as I said earlier in my submission, most time government don't obey their own rule. It's just that once there is salary increase, there must be increase in pension as well. And I remember most of the time
So what Babari is saying is that this is not followed up by labor union.
it follow. They have their own union. There's a union specifically set up for that. In fact, the secretariat is behind all the Labour Congress.
The pension service.
Yeah, the pension.
Okay, that takes us to Akin's question
yes.
that once you are out of service.
Once you are out of service, you say that is the end of the matter.
The TUC and the labor unions leave them to their own struggle.
It's not like that. You see, you find that Labour has its own every union or every has its own what do you call it, schedule. Okay, now the Labour something now they act on behalf of the people who pay deductions to them. Are you following me? Aha. For instance, when I was the secretary of the Association of Senior Civil Servants, some people were arrested at the Board of Internal Revenue, and I engaged the services of a lawyer for them, which at the end of the day, the case was was thrown off the course, and my members were set free. Are you following? Now, we can only act morally. But when it comes to financial commitment, you can only do that for people who are paying the union dues to you. So that is one. But what you have said, at Labour something will try to put this across. That gentlemen, don't just let us leave the people who retire alone. Let us join together. Just as you always join together to fight for salary and other things, let us also join together and see what we can do for the pensioners. You see, at the Ikoyi Cemetery, when you are coming out, on the fence there, it was written, those of you who are going, we welcome you. Those of you who are coming, we welcome you. We have been like you before, and surely you are going to be like us as time goes on. So, you know what I mean by that. Ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ń lọ, a kí yín o. Ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ń bọ̀, a kí yín o. Àwa náà ti dàbí ẹ̀yin ní ìgbà kan tá à ń rìn kiri, ó sì dá wa lójú pé ẹ̀yin náà ń bọ̀ á dàbí àwa. In which case, all the people working now are going to be, what do you call it, pensioner one day or the other. In fact, there was a book written that workers today, pensioner tomorrow. So these are something, I agree with you that something should be done.
And of course, the joy of every worker now is to become a pensioner.
Of course. So, after that, then, Akin, he said government difficulties overbloated civil service organization. Well, you see, I don't employ, the Labour don't employ. Are you following me? It is the employer who should follow its rules and regulations. In the general order, which is now public service rules, the way to go into the service, it is there. The way you work in the service, it is there. The way you exit out of the service is there. Now, who should monitor this? As I said, go to any federal establishment and not the number of staff they have. You will not get the answer until weeks later. This is some of the trouble that happen. How can you have workers and you don't know their number? You see, you look, almost every state now talk of what do you call it? Kogi have just said the reserve from ghost workers. Who employ them? In the when I was in UAC, we call what's called staff strength. Every month end, we give you the number of position, the number of salary, the number of people who are on grade level 3, we give it. Number of people on grade level, we give it all over the country. And they just check easily. And the staff audit, we call it staff audit. Every month we do it. So that is left for the employer to do.
All right, can we see what the messages are saying?
Yes, we can. Okay, we have this one. Can you explain the difference between collective bargaining and collective responsibility? That is a question coming from Comrade Seyi. Then, sir, in the history of Ogun State, since 40 years, no governors have reduced pensioner gratuity and monthly pension by 20%, and even the sacked labor leaders. But this administration in Ogun State broke the record. What is your reaction on this, as a labor leader? Shola is is asking the question too. Now, what is your opinion on this issue of government reworking pensioners' gratuity at the time of payment by removing some of the allowances hitherto had been part of the items for computing the gratuities? That's coming from Coyote. Then, Comrade, why is it that traditional leaders and elder statesmen coming to the scene pleading with workers when ultimatum would have lapsed? Have they not been carrying people along? Coyote from Rwanda wants to know more of that. Then, kudos to you, sir. Is there any law that backs up this issue of no work, no pay being implemented by some state governments in this country? BC Oparinde is asking that question. Then Coyote, what is your opinion? Okay, Coyote sent in the message again on cutting allowances of pensioners. Then good morning, Chienye and Dele, as well as the guests in the house. Sir, what is the right of a governor to sack labor leaders? Kolawole Joseph is asking the question. Then Abdurrashid Okemla from Abeokuta. Insincerity of labor, most especially their leaders, is the biggest problem. Unlike those days when they speak with one voice, can't witness the faction in NLC speaking differently, and most of them have neglected their primary objectives. Hardly do they know if they are civil servants or politicians. Until this is looked into, the genuine ones will continue to pay for the wrongs of their selfish leaders. I pity how government treats them. That's from Abdurrashid Okila from Abeokuta. Then checking the tweets, we have Shobowale Joseph. Good morning, our guest in the studio. Please, what's the difference between NLC and TUC? Yemi Da Vinci, sir, if we increase wages according to inflation rate, will workers agree to a wage decrease if we have deflation? Gafaro Olusegun Ismaila, the litigation period for industrial cases are too long. Nigerian labor laws should be reviewed as soon as possible. Then the NIC judgment has always been in favor of the employers and not the employees. Why? Then I don't think the labor needs salary increments. What they need is improved social infrastructure as well as stable power. Okay, those were the tweets from Gafar Olusegun Ismaila. Then Oluwasegun Alalade. If government has been sincere with salary review before now, once they default, the labourers will quite understand their pledge, and many of the labour leaders have also lost their moral value. They easily dance to politicians' tunes and forget the cause they are pursuing. That's from Oluwasegun Alalade. The Mayor of God. Okay, this is from the Quick Takes. His take is yes, enough of the state government's nonchalant attitude towards our education system. It's seriously dying and it needs revival. Okay, that's it for the Twitter messages from
Mr. Adebanjo, obviously you cannot provide answer to all. Maybe just pick some that you think are salient and then we go back to the telephone.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Ariwoko. We talk of the fractionalization in the NLC and honestly, well, and which of the faction the government recognizes, or the state government recognizes. Well, I don't think the Ajaero faction has been recognized by name. Actually, Labour is an exclusive legislative list. It's only when the Federal Ministry of Labour has issued a certificate to a particular union or labour center, then it becomes law. Then everybody, as at now, the Ajaero faction, as far as I know, has not been officially recognized by the Federal Ministry of Labour. So definitely, Ogun State cannot take any side for now. Now, the collective bargaining and collective responsibility.
Yeah, the difference.
Well, collective bargaining means that the members of a particular union in a sector, they sit down together with government to negotiate salary and allowances and other things. Okay, that is collective.
Instead of doing it separately,
Instead of doing it separately. For instance, in the civil service, you have what you call National Public Service Negotiating Council. The 8 unions there are in the public service that are recognized. Okay, so they go together to negotiate.
So the TNC negotiate on their behalf.
Yes. So that is what happened. And then when going along, we also take along some of the unions who will be affected by whatever decisions that is taken along. For instance, you take Norway, you take them along because whatever you agree with is going to affect the local government as well. So therefore, we take the Norway along. NUT, we take them along.
Judicial workers.
Judicial workers, we take them along. So this is what really happened. Now, then collective responsibility. Well, that's a very testy one. What do you mean by collective responsibility? The situation is that you have been appointed to work. Therefore, you work. And everybody will be judged on his own productivity, and not necessarily because if you don't do well, the lawyer has the way of dealing with you. That's why.
All right, let's go back to the telephone. Yes. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm calling from Abuja. I want to ask from our guest here. The first one is the doctor's dismissal of workers. Because 2,000 workers are dismissed from the sector. Because I want to know what labor, how the labor view it. Is it the right thing to do that are technically employed and they have not been found once in any moment. You are not separate from the minute of the phone. It is at all.
Okay. All right, thank you. Question noted. Let's take another one. Let's see this one. Hello.
Good morning, Dele.
Morning.
Good morning, Chienye. Good morning, the man in the house.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
You have spoken. Yes, you have spoken so well. My name is Dr. Ogun from Ashero. You have spoken so well. I hope the Labour and government listens to what you have said. I think Labour has to educate these people what the laws are. Most of the time, like what happened in Rock City, where a lot of people told me back as this man ignorant of the law, and these are supposed to be very big people. They don't know what the laws are. They don't believe it. Let's act here and all that. Don't think that law, Labour is like it's like law, it's like engineering. It has its own laws. That is where the Labour leader failed in the name of populism. Number two, I cannot agree with you about the population. I can assure you that what you are saying is true. So that government institutions now, as I'm talking to the number of people that are in the employment. Some of them, people, they are nominal roles, there are 3 nominal roles, which you don't know. You see some names in some nominal roles, which is in your department, and you have never seen such a name before, but it's a nominal role, and it goes Abuja. If you have that out there, how can government plan? You talk of 5 years, yes, so government should review 5 years. You cannot review without statistics. We don't have statistics in this country. In anything, we don't. And it becomes difficult. Everybody goes, yeah. Why don't you see that? Even this Labour, to do statistics. I don't want the Labour leader to come and say, pay us actually for 20 years. Tell us statistics. How much has come into government coffers? And as you write it in level 1, level 2, level 3, local government. If one Labour is supposed to tell us, if government cannot tell us that, and then we'll be able to judge. But this really thing of all that, just talking like that, I think they're power winder, would not help us. Statistics, you are very correct, sir. Let me just stop here because I have too many things to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
All right, just one call more, and that will end the phone segment. Hello, let's take this one. Yes, morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Dele and Chienye now. Good morning, sir. Yeah, my name is Dele. That is calling from Ayodo. Hello, sir.
Yes, we can hear you, Big Daddy.
So, please, I want you to understand that today we are suffering the hand of government and the Labour. I want you to just step back and look at all this fight. Police is here, people by other ministry and other places. They never go for fight for a day. But they don't stop. Who can save life as police used to? They need to go for fight. Why is it like that. Is it are they going to put the pain on the masses? And I have my health workers almost planning to go strike if there's any strike that I have to go. And why is it that the strike is only for some people, not like some people who forward the strike happen to have the pain by themselves? So please, I want you to use that English that we will understand to explain to us the reason why the doctor must include the strike to have a message.
All right, and that will be the last call. We'll check. Let's add the messages to it and the tweets, and come to Mr. Adebanjo. Okay, Mr. Adebanjo, your reaction to those issues raised.
Well, thank you very much. Mr. Shubobade is as the difference between NLC and TUC. You see, when they set it up quite all right, as I said it, in 1978, the NLC was recognized by President then General Obasanjo then. So it was meant for junior workers. It's there. There's a clause in the law that set up the NLC that any senior staff that joined it will be fined certain amount of money. They can even go to jail for it. So primarily, technically, NLC is for junior workers. Now, in the TUC is for senior workers. Quite all right. It was supposed to be registered in 1978, but for government reason, they said the labor will be too powerful for the government then. So they allowed the NLC to operate, while the senior staff was working as SESCAN. We call it SESCAN at that time. So along the line, when the NLC now became too hot for the government, they now brought in the TUC through the Trade Amendment Act of 2005. So they thought we are going to be used to as a sort of a counterpost to the NLC, whereas NLC, TUC, they have the same purpose, welfare of their workers. So that's justice. Now we talk of somebody said NIC judgment are always in favor.
The NIC.
NIC, yes, NIC, National Industrial Court judgment are always in favor of government. Well, I don't think so, because we have had situations like that where unions also win cases there. But as I said earlier in my submission, there are certain procedure you have to follow. For instance, you go on strike, you don't follow the procedure of giving the normal days, the number of days you are supposed to give, dialogue, letters, and all those things are going to take into consideration. It's not just you bring somebody before court and then they just pass judgment like that. No, they are going to follow it in total. The number of cars, the number of calls, if you can record it, all these things we take into consideration. So I tell you, some of our people, either through ignorance of the law, just took law into their hands, and as such, most of these cases were just thrown off. So
we have some messages. Let's have some messages today.
This one from Mayor of God. Morning, Chienye and Dele. May I ask that how is the level of the government as responding to the last MOU that was agreed on by the NLC and the state government? Then Yemi Davinci, is it true that some labor leaders collect money from the government, especially during negotiations, like the 2012 subsidy strike? The Mayor of God again. And what is the relationship as per the two factions? And is there still cordial relationship between both of them? That's the NLC and the state government.
So the NLC, I think for that he has answered in Ogun State right now as we speak. I think we only have the NLC and TUC, true of us. Mr. Adebanjo.
yes, of course. What we are saying is that there is no disagreement between labor and government. As I told you, some government saw that some labor officials, went against the law, and they took positive action against them. That is that one. The NLC and government are not at loggerheads at all. I hope you get that one straight ahead. So then somebody asked why the doctor should go on strike. I think it was Mr. Emeka. Well, the doctor has the right to hold on to their labor, while the government also has the right to hold on to their money. It's as simple as that.
More messages? Okay, don't worry about the MOU. Somebody also asked the update on the MOU signed between government and Labour.
Um, that one, I know government has fulfilled most of the uh, MOU. I know, and the others, there are preparation to also, you know, complete it. This is not an issue that has come just one day. It's a lingering issue, and I'm sure the government will address it. Is doing something to address them now.
All right, and will be it. We appreciate everybody who joined us for the program this morning. I also thank you, Mr. Seyi Adebanjo, the consultant to the state government on labor matters. We discuss labor-related issues, the no work, no pay position, and of course the agitation for pay rise and other labor matters. Tomorrow, by the grace of God, we'll be back same time on the Daybreak Show, Rock City 101.9 FM. I say God bless you all. God bless Rock City. God bless Ogun State. Dele Ayodo is my name.
And I am Chienye.